Good morning, my dear students. For today, I will start with lesson number 6 of chapter 8, and I will divide this lesson into two parts. The objective of this lesson, or the objectives of this lesson, to find the magnitude of the vector, which is mean the length, and the direction, which is the angle. Any vector you can find as the initial point and the terminal point. The initial point, or in another word, it's the starting point, the terminal point, or the end point. The second point of this part, I will talk about the component form, which is always going to be horizontal and vertical. The horizontal, or in another word, I'm going to say the x-axis, and the vertical, or is the y-axis. The components of this vector, CD, as you see in the figure, I am moving on the horizontal line 2 units, and I'm moving vertically 3 units. I want to say something about this or these coordinates. 2 and 3, it's not a point. I'm not saying this is a point, 2 and 3. But 2 and 3 are actually distance. I'm moving vertically 2 units, or horizontally 2 units, and moving vertically 3 units. That's why I said x and y. But actually 2 is not x, it's the change of x. As you see, this is the change of x. And this is the change in y. Change in x and the change in y. Okay. The third point, the magnitude of a vector is the length. And as you see, I have the absolute value of vector AB or vector V in general. Why I'm using the absolute value? Because I'm talking about length. And the length always is going to be positive. Don't forget that. The length is always positive, like the distance. In math, it always should be positive. Point number 4 of this part, part 1, draw the vector 4 with -2 on a coordinate plane. Then the length of the vector, I need to find it. Any vector, I told you before, it should be, look, initial point and terminal point. Now, it's wanted from you to determine what is the initial point and what is the terminal point. Look at the coordinate plane. The initial point, always the origin point, 0 with 0. And I'm going to give it x1 and y1 as coordinates. Are you following, guys? Please listen to me carefully. The length of the vector, and I need to draw the vector in a coordinate plane. First, I need to determine what is the initial point and what is the terminal point. Look at the vector. The initial point, always the origin point, 0 with 0. And it's going to be x1 and y1. The terminal point, it's 4 with -2. And in that way, I draw it. I draw it on the coordinate plane. I need to find the length of the vector 4 with -2. Of course, you remember the formula of the distance between 2 points. Under a square root, the change in x, x2 minus x1 squared, plus change in y, y2 minus y1 squared. I will replace the point, x1, y1, x2 and y2 in the formula, and you can use the calculator, and you'll find the length is the square root of 20, which is approximately 4.5 units. This is how we find the length of this vector. Find the direction of a vector, and that was for our, this is point number 5 of part 1. As you see in the figure, I gave you a vector with its initial point, the origin, and with the terminal point, it's 2 with 5. Look at the x-axis. I have 2 units from 0 to 2. And look at the y-axis. I have 5 units. I'm talking about the dashed line. The dashed line. To find the direction, actually, I will use the tangent formula, which is the opposite over adjacent. But since he asked me to find the angle, I will use the tan inverse, which is 5 over 2. Tan inverse for 5 over 2, which equals 68 degrees, and this is approximately answer. This is part 1 of our lesson.